Hello, welcome to another Tech Review Tuesday, which probably isn't on a Tuesday, but I just like the alliteration, so there you go. Anyway, today I've got something pretty exciting from Hohem. It's called the iSteady M6, and it might look like your standard phone gimbal, but it's got something a little bit special on there. Whilst other gimbals generally, obviously stabilise, and they might have some sort of app to try and do tracking, this one has this little AI sensor, which it says can track you, move the phone around, so you can use whatever you want on your phone independent of the unit, and it will track you around. And I thought this would be interesting because when I'm out in the field doing a bit about flying a quad or something, I normally take this is my GoPro 10 with its it's called the Media Mod kit, having this little mic there, and that's not bad, but good God, I'm never buying another GoPro again. It goes wrong so often, it's a pain. And the phone's okay, but I never connect like a microphone to it or anything, and sort of I have to hold it out there and it's a little bit awkward. So this might be interesting to check, especially if it can sort of track me and follow me around, and can I attach a microphone to it on the base reasonably. So we'll see. First off, let's quickly go into close-up, get it out the box, see what we get there, and then we'll go to setup. Okay, it's not a small box, but let's get the stuff out of there and see what's inside. And the first thing we notice is we get this cool little carrying case, which has everything inside. There's nothing else in the box, so let's see what's in here. All of this, essentially, this is nicely protective, it feels like. We've got a user manual. Don't be too intimidated, most of it's in other languages, so this is the English bit. A good sort of 20-30 pages to read through. You've got this miniature tripod, so you can stand this up in the field if you go out. This says it's a charging cable. And this is the gimbal itself. Let's get rid of the box for a sec. With these little controls. There's lots to it. You've got the little joystick here, little things there, power on, power offs. I think I'm right in looking at this. When I looked on the website, this looks like a sort of 1/4-inch screw hole, so you can put something you would put on a tripod adapter there. I was hoping that would be for the microphone. I just found there's another trigger there, there's a switch thing there. Obviously you should be able to move this around to get the weight right, and here's this little AI sensor thing. Yeah, I mean, it all looks a bit wacky at the moment. I think time to have a bit of a look through here, see how it works, see if it needs calibration, and then find out what all these fun buttons do and things. So let's get on with that next. Okay, we're all charged up, we've read the instructions to an extent, and so we think we know what we're doing. First thing to do is to put the phone in. And you do that by making sure that the camera is on that side, and the rest of it, and the rest sits in like that. Now it will fall forwards, but the idea is to make sure it balances. You've got this thing here that you can pick up and move along, and obviously by doing that you can see it doesn't balance, so you find the balance point and then lock it down like so. Once you've done that, turn it on, hold this for 3 seconds, and we're up and running. We don't actually need the phone on right now. And out of the box it says PF, which means pan follow, which means it doesn't tilt, it doesn't go sideways, it just follows the pan. So as I turn it, it does that. Now there are various modes in this which are accessed by pressing the mode key. So the next one, that's PF as you see there, is PTF, which is pan and tilt follow. So if I tilt forwards, you can see the camera will sort of catch up with the tilt and go forwards that way. The trigger on the back, if you hold that down, it goes to sport mode. If you notice at the moment how fast it sort of moves, if I now hold the trigger down, you'll see it go S, and then it's a lot quicker. It's a lot quicker to respond. So if you're following really fast stuff, do that. If you just let go of the trigger, it goes back to being quite gentle. Another mode is lock. Lock means it's literally not moving. I can move all around, I can turn, I can do whatever, it's just going to try and stand there. And in all these modes you can of course move things with the joystick. So in lock particularly, it could be the case that you want to focus on that and then you're moving around, and that sort of thing happens. And then you've got
POV. POV means it's going to follow your every move. So it turns, it goes down, and it tilts. But it follows you gently. And again, just press sport and everything happens a lot quicker. Most of the time, PF is kind of the mode that's default and gets used. There is another mode. It's a bit of a weird one. And this sort of fun mode happens when you press this 3 times. And it's called Inception. And you hold it a bit like a flashlight. And what you've got is this continuously rotating view. The idea is to make that weird effect like what they did in Inception when the sort of whole place was rotating. Of course the person would be in the same spot, not going on the ceiling and stuff, but it's an interesting mode. And one thing you pick up from that is this has a slit ring inside, so basically you can rotate forever. There's no limits on the rotation. You can just go all the way around and keep on going ad infinitum. The trigger's got extra functions as well. You've seen me press it to enable sport mode to get things going faster. If, you know, we were messing around with this and we had this at a funny angle and we wanted to recenter, just tap it twice and it goes back. 3 times, it reverses, so we can go back. And it says 4 times gives you an ultra wide mode, and I think what that's talking about there is if we're filming from this camera, there's a possibility of getting this in view perhaps. So if we hit that 4 times, basically it changes the gimbal around so the motor is in the front and you've got a clear view out the back there. We can just go back again. Now there is a way of holding this in a certain way and making it go to portrait. But if you wanted to mount it portrait, the best way is to actually mount it portrait in the first place. To do that, it's about taking the camera out, physically rotating this, like so, and then putting the phone in this way with the camera at the top. Possibly you need to do a little bit of rebalancing because it's a little bit different. I just need to push it in just a touch. Yeah, like that. And if we now turn on, we are in portrait mode and everything else stays the same apart from you can't see it because it's too close. And I kind of wondered, like, why do people use portrait mode? And I guess Instagram, heavens forbid, TikTok, that sort of thing, this is the way you want to film. And that works all the same. It's got all the same modes. You can manually adjust things, etc, etc. And you know, the trigger works the same. It's all the same. However, I'm going to be going back to using it in landscape mode like a normal person. Now there are a bunch of other controls here as well, and they are controlled through their own app. They do have an app, and you've got things like zoom, you've got this multifunctional controller on the side, and let's get the app up and we can show what that does. So there is an app you can download here, and it's called Hohem Joy, and if we go into that, I've already connected this to the gimbal, and if I just go like that, it gives me immediate access. I'm filming ahead now. We could turn it around, of course, but then you'll be looking at my camera filming you, so that's a bit weird. And yeah, you're probably thinking, why the sensor? We'll come to that in a second, but we've got a bunch of different options when doing this. As said, we can zoom in and out. We can obviously hit record and we start going, stop it. We have got focus on this wheel by default, but if we press it, we've then got roll instead, which is a bit of a weird one. If we press it 3 times, we then get to change like the color volume and stuff like that, which is a bit of a weird one. So if we just change the camera around like that, there's me, there is. Am I zoomed out all the way? Just have a check. Yep, let me move it back. You can probably see my head there. And if I go into face tracking, you can see my face. And look at that. It's tracking me. And you're probably wondering at this point, well, what's this AI sensor for? And I think the difference there is, Well, it seems to track a little differently, and I think there's situations where you won't want to be in this app to do your filming. You've also got, just to let you know, different things you can film. So instead of like facial tracking, I could say I'd like to track an object, for example. Like, well, there's an object, and then it's going to try and track that. And you can imagine using that on sort of cars and things like that. Now, I mentioned this app for one thing, and that's because you can change something else which you don't need the app for. So if you have a look here, there's two more buttons called A and B. The idea of this is they're used for time-lapsing. So if I put the camera like over there, say it's looking up in the sky, and then I hold down A for 2 seconds, and then I take it back, and I want to go sort of looking down. So I've done sort of pan across the sky, looking down, and I press B for 2 seconds. And now a short press of A gets me back to that location. Short press of B gets me back to B. And what I can do with that, if I go back to A, so if I now double tap B, what it's going to do is move across to B in a 1 minute span, and that 1 minute is the default. So the reason I put the app up first is that you can change how long it's going to do that time lapse for within the app. But yeah, by default it's a minute. Obviously, if you wanted a half an hour time lapse going from one position to the other, that's easily doable. This is going to do that within the 1 minute. Recenter that since it's finished. Right, let's talk about the AI sensor. For this, let's put the camera on. Now you'll see I'm just using the regular camera app in my phone here. And I think the idea of this, and I'm just going to turn it on, it's just a switch on the side here, is perhaps if you didn't want to use that camera app. So for example, you wanted to do a live broadcast on YouTube, or you wanted to do Instagram or TikTok, or something where you needed to use an in-application thing. How would you manage to get it to track you? And the idea is this. What we do, we just do an OK sign, like so, and at that point, it's not... I mean, it is tracking my face, obviously, but it doesn't have to be tracking my face. It just tracks sort of intelligently, and it does look better than the other tracking, I have to admit. If we want to stop it, we just hold our hand out, like that. And it stops tracking. Now if we wanted to, we could do this W sign, which looks like this. Well, it's not really a W, and that means, I want to change slightly the angle how you're tracking me. So if I say I want to be up in the air like that, I do the sign again, and now if I start tracking, you see it puts me at the bottom of the screen instead of tracking me as it was before, which is a weird thing to do, but just in case the tracking's slightly off, you can completely put it back. I want to be sort of centre of the screen, I guess, don't I? So the question is, how well does this track? If I take this into an environment where I'm sort of outside and doing stuff, how well is it going to do? Let's find out. So here we are outside in the garden, and I've just turned the AI sense on. The larger picture there is the external camera filming the tripod with my camera on it, and you see the smaller picture is obviously what's coming from the phone, which is tracking me. And I tried to get away from this thing. I worked quite hard. Running round and round in circles is an interesting test, and then sudden changes of direction. It seems to do a really good job and seems fairly smooth in how it pans around. You'd think this was a proper cameraman with a nicely panning camera. Now I did get it to use me. To do this I had to come right in close, fast by it, and then it didn't know where I was. But all I had to do is get in there, and it would very quickly reacquire me and start following me again. So yeah, it follows things around pretty impressively. Now a unique feature of the AI sensor is you can simply pick it up, turn it round and face it the other way, and it just clips back in. And you're probably wondering, well, what's the point of that? In just about every single phone, the front-facing camera, i.e. that's the one in the screen, so you'd use to make video calls, is a much worse camera than the one in the rear, where you take photos and do normal videos where you're not filming yourself. So if you want to use the full resolution, and often you're getting a much higher megapixel rate, 4K instead of 1080, that sort of stuff, there's no way, if you're on your own, of sort of framing yourself and trying to make it track you with the app. And this is where the AI sensor is a little bit unique. You see it tracking me nicely here, and I'm using the full resolution of the decent lenses in the phone instead of the much worse ones in the front. And I thought it only made sense to show you what Inception mode looked like. So I volunteered my daughter Sophie here and said walk along and look scared and be dramatic or something. So we end up with some amazing overacting. Interestingly, I tried this when I was being filmed and mine came out even more cringy, so you're getting the best acting of the family here somehow. It's an interesting effect, I think. Now, if this sounds quite horrific at the moment, I do apologise. This is because my mic is sat here. I was just testing out if there was a way of mounting, and I've used the hole here. And what I didn't have is like a proper mount. Really, I want that directly on there, or possibly on that bit there. That would be quite good. But I just wanted to see, well, there's another point there. There's like 3 points of mounting that we can see just here. But I just wanted to see if I could mount it somewhere where it would obviously be like this, so I could speak to it and it wouldn't be in the way. And you know, you could see me happily in the screen without seeing the mic, even though the mic is quite obviously there. Not perfect. And I tried to order a cable for this, because this needs what's called a TRRS, basically a 3-pole cable from a 2-pole. And the one I got from Amazon from some company didn't work, so I've ordered another one to try out. But yeah, you can certainly use this then as a vlogging camera, because you'd have a decent microphone. You wouldn't have to put up with your phone mic, so that would work quite well. And I'd like to try that out. I just need to get the right bits and bobs in to do that. Okay, so after a bit of experimentation, I bought a pack of these, which are kind of things that can screw in and hold the microphone. And what I've done there in this scenario, if we was around, is I've mounted it to the moving part of the gimbal. I bought a proper Rode adapter, and I've had to switch the phone round, so this is not the way it should be mounted in the gimbal, but I needed to get to this socket for the microphone, and that seems to work okay. It adds a bit of weight, so I've had to move the thing around, but it seems to work, and that is a way of vlogging. Of course, I could screw in here, which may be a more viable proposition, or even there to go up above, but that should work. Let's try a quick walking round vlog, shall we, and see if this is going to work nicely with the camera and the gimbal and everything else. I'll even put this on and track myself. Okay, here we are. Hopefully this is working. I'm using my phone, I'm using the AI tracking to hopefully track my face, and I'm just walking around and hopefully using this microphone. It is a really hot day. The only thing I notice about using a phone is not super wide angle, so you have to hold your hand quite way out, which is not that easy if the gimbal plus the phone plus the microphone is quite heavy, and it's not that light, but it seems to be doing the job quite well. We can pan around here. I'll hold down sport mode so it follows me much quicker. Try and escape from it. Doing quite well. Yeah, that's all pretty good. Let's go back inside, see if there's a difference between how it's handling the wind outside and a relatively quiet environment inside the house. And then I'll walk back upstairs and we'll take a look at this footage and see what I thought of it.
Well, there you go. This is the Hohem iSteady MC Kit with the AI sensor, and it's a very, very interesting proposition, I think. It kind of depends what you're doing. This is like not the only thing you'd ever use for filming. It's like another piece in the arsenal of what you do to make content. And for me, I think this is going to stand out when I'm in the field. I'm trying to show you stuff with planes, and I have to stop grabbing the GoPro and trying to do like a close-up and stuff. I like to be able to walk around, launch something, fly around, talk without having to sort of hold the camera, and just pop in this on a tripod and just having it follow me around doing whatever it likes, or even perhaps trying to get it to track a plane using the app just to draw something around, I think would be very interesting. And certainly all these different shooting modes you've got and just the options you've got for creativity there, I think are quite high. I feel I've only just scratched the surface here as well, because there's certain things I completely missed or did the description wrong. When I was talking about like the colour temperature in this thing, what you actually have to do to enable that is do this, and then you get the light on, and then you've got a brightness, or the CCT if you like. Press that again. The colour temperature, I don't know if this is picking this up, but this is 2700K going up to 6500K, basically from a warm light at the lower to a sort of much brighter filling light at the top. So things I miss out and just don't notice, basically, because I was looking at other features. Also noted as well, when I talked about the wide angle thing, which is the when we turn it around like that, the advantage of this one, of course, is you've got much more room to actually move the gimbal, so you can move it way further, like all the way down. If you're back on regular, then you've got, basically you hit a limit on where you can go there, which isn't quite as high. So I misunderstood that slightly. I thought it was about not getting in the behind bit if you had a wide angle, but it's more about being able to move the gimbal to get the wide angle you want. The only thing I'm not sure about is attaching my mic to it. I found that all a bit cumbersome, and I found it like it's quite heavy, and you have to hold it sort of far out because it's a phone and it's not as wide angle, so you have to be back here. But I'm gonna check it out. I'm gonna use it for some of my upcoming videos, and you'll have to tell me what you think, see if it's worthwhile. Is it worthwhile for you? Well, that's very much up to you. If you're into filmmaking and content creation and think this might be useful for you, then certainly check it out. Downsides, it's not the cheapest thing in the world, but obviously it's very feature rich, and the fact it's got a slip ring which will go all the way around is one of the more unique features I found out of this type of gimbal. I've had these gimbals before and they've got to do like a 350-degree rotation, so you hit an end stop and then you have to go back again. This just will spin all the way around. Anyway, this has been the Hohem M6 Kit with the AI sensor, very kindly supplied by Hohem, and if you're interested in one of these for yourself, then there'll of course be links where you can check it down below. Anyway, hope that review's been helpful. I will catch you next one. Bye for now.
Well, you've made it to the end of the video, so thanks once again for watching. If you like what you saw, then please consider subscribing, and if you really like what you saw, then be sure to check out the link to my blog for a variety of ways in which you can help support this channel.